Alternate Salmeri.
Here.
Alternate Ma. Alternate Caird.
Present.
Commissioner Czaplinski. Commissioner Czaplinski. No. Commissioner Walowski.
Here.
Chair Hammersley.
Hammersley's here. I did hear from Commissioner Czaplinski as well as Commissioner Tedesco. They're not going to be able to join us tonight, and in their place, we will sit Commissioner Gaida and Commissioner Salmeri. And with that, we do have a quorum. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance. Could all remain standing for a moment of silent reflection. All right, thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting on March 19, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Commissioner Gaida with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Give that to Commissioner Sewell. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, Commissioner discussion. Anything from anyone? Nothing? All right. Chairman's comments, I'm going to read my preamble. But other than that, I don't have anything. So, good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Southington Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Robert Hammersley. I'm the chair of the commission. I want to take a few moments to explain the meeting format. Aside from administrative items, which you just heard, tonight's meeting is comprised of 2 parts, a public hearing and business meeting. During the public hearing, the applicant will present the application to us in detail, which will allow the commission members and the public the opportunity to better understand what's being proposed. The commission members may ask questions during the presentation as needed, and then we will ask members of the public who support or oppose the application to speak. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Wait for me to recognize you. Once recognized, come up to the podium right up there. Give us your name and address for the record, and please address all comments directly to myself and not to the applicant or other members of the public. Be advised that this is the only opportunity to ask questions and make comments on an application, because once a public hearing is closed, no additional testimony from the public or the applicant will be permitted. It's important to maintain order and decorum at all times during the meeting. After everyone's had a full opportunity to speak, all questions have been answered and all information has been received. The commission will decide whether it's appropriate to close the hearing. We will not consider voting on an application until the business meeting portion of the agenda. During the business meeting, the commission will deliberate on the applications submitted and decide how to act on them. The commission may take one of 4 different steps. 1 is to approve the application as submitted. 2 is to approve it with stipulations, conditions, or modifications. 3 is to table an application for a future meeting. Or finally, in some cases, we may deny an application. 4 affirmative votes of the commission are generally required to approve any application. If you have to leave the meeting before a decision is rendered, please call the planning department, Jeremy down on my far left here, tomorrow afternoon, and he can give you the results from tonight's meeting. With that, is there any other comments from members of the commission? We can go into our public hearing. Item A, Skytop Towing and Recovery, LLC, special permit application for proposed automobile towing and recovery service to occupy a portion of an existing industrial site property located at 102 West Center Street, Zone B, SPU 694. Mr. Judas, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commission members. For the record, Stephen Judas with the Office of Cole Civil, 876 South Main Street in Plantsville. Tonight, again, here on behalf of Skytop Motors for property located at 102 Center Street here in town. It's a 3.5 acre parcel in an I-1 zone. At our last meeting, I respectfully requested we continue this so we could try to iron out some of the issues that we had out on site. We had an on-site meeting with staff and the applicant. We walked through the property, identified items that needed to be addressed, which are outlined on the map on the screen and before you. We are proposing, or we will be moving the concrete block storage areas off-site. Any storage trailers and trash and debris will be removed from the site. Any Any gallon drums or gallon totes out there would be removed from the property, and any trash or debris between the block building, which is located right next to our facility here. There's some debris in there that we're going to remove from the site as well. The other modification is we had our original vehicle storage area in this location. We moved it over to this area here. There's a concrete pad and some millings in that area. We felt that was a better location. And we proposed a privacy fence with slats, chain link fence with slats for privacy, so you won't be able to see the vehicles from the street. And we're also proposing to rehab the walkway that runs through the front of the property as part of this application. So we did revise the plan. We did have some conversations with staff about those changes. I think staff is comfortable with the changes that we propose, and I'm hoping that the commission will agree that they're positive changes to our application. With that, the applicant also submitted kind of an outline of his business plan and how he operates and how he proposes to operate here. So we're happy to answer any questions about the changes to the site plan or his operation at this time.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Any questions for members of the commission?
Steve, I just have one question.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Chair. Is this now closer to the bike trail?
It is closer to the bike trail, but it's obscured by the buildings. You cannot see from the bike trail into the site from where we're proposing our site, our location.
You all set, Rob? You all set? Okay, Steve?
So am I to understand that the applicant is willing to clean up other people's debris in order to try to facilitate this happening?
Yes, sir.
Can I hear from the applicant?
Yes, we will.
Sir, can you give us your name and address, please?
Jeremy Berube, 338 Town Line Road, Southington.
Okay.
So I'm going to guess that you've researched a few sites. Why do you feel this site is appropriate for your needs?
Most of the other sites located in Southington are, I guess you'd say, easily accessible from a person driving's point of view. Not every day somebody wants to see crash cars or stuff of that nature. This site seems to be perfect for what I need. It's small, it's compact. I've looked at a couple other sites and just didn't really fit that criteria that I need. So I kind of want to be off the beaten path, away from people the most I can, and try to keep what I have to, stored in a smaller area. That's kind of my goal.
Understood. You do, out of sight, but it's 2 blocks from the center of town. That's kind of a concern that we're toying with here.
I understand your concern. I'm willing to make the place look better than it probably ever has in its entire life of being there. Being in the center of town, you guys gotta need someone like me to come in there and do this stuff, really. I'm willing to help out and whatever we have to do to spruce it up a little bit. There's definitely some sites in the center of town that look far worse than this one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Steve? You all set? Any other questions from members of the commission? No? Anything you want to add, Steve, before we open it up?
I'm not sure that, Jeremy's looked at a lot of different sites, and a lot of them aren't available for him to just come in and use a small space. He doesn't need a half acre or an acre of space. He really needs a small area, and Dana Ricard, who owns this property, was willing to lease him that space. I've worked with Jeremy on a couple different projects of his. He always gets it done and is willing to do what he needs to do to make it right. So originally, when I spoke to you, I didn't think the owner would be willing to make these changes. But Jeremy said, I'll do whatever it needs to be done. I'll move the blocks out. I'll get rid of the garbage. I'll do what I need to do. I'll put slats in the fence. Whatever it needs, he'll take care of it. So I think that we have an opportunity to take this site, clean it up. We have a small operation we're proposing to locate there. There could be many other operations that could go in there that we wouldn't even come before this commission on. So you have an opportunity to have an applicant who wants to do something there and is standing here before you and is willing to do what it takes to make it right. So I think it's a win-win for the commission, for him, and ultimately the property owner will benefit from this as well.
So let me come at it, but maybe as a devil's advocate point
Sure.
of view, right? And ask for you to respond to this, is that, as you know, Steve, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but, and members of the commission know that when we make an approval or a decision on an application, that doesn't go with the person, it goes with the property. So even though you're here today and you know, I personally, I appreciate the effort to go out there and clean up all this stuff. However, tomorrow, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but we don't know this, right? And you don't know it. Who knows? No one really knows it. Tomorrow, things could change and it gets sold to somebody else. And then we're back in a situation where we've approved the towing operation and somebody comes in there and says, well, you know, I'm not going to clean this up. And let me finish that one.
Okay.
And then I'm putting the onus on our town staff to go out there and enforce it. And, you know, they're busy as it is. So, you know, you see the tale that I'm sort of creating, you know, the scenario where it becomes a little bit of a, I'll call it a concern, but, you know, I want to give you the opportunity to address that concern because.
So I think in this situation, unlike any other application that will come before this commission, once you approve this, Jeremy has to now go to the state Department of Motor Vehicles to get a license. And in order for him to get that license for this site, we have to come back to the planning department and they have to sign that license, sign off on that license. So he can't move forward unless he does the things that he's telling you he's going to do. And by you approving this special permit, the special permit is bound by the conditions that you put forth on this special permit. So even if he were to say, I can't do it, me and Dana had a falling out, if another towing operation want to come into the site and they want to come in under our special permit, they have to comply with the stipulations regarding this special permit. So I think that you have a double whammy here, a double check. I don't know if whammy is the right word, but there's checks and balances with this type of application. With other motor vehicle applications, I shouldn't say with other applications, you don't have that second step of the motor vehicle licensing, and zoning has to sign off on that plan before he can even apply for his license. So, and again, your stipulations run with the land if anybody wants to come in and do this. And even once it's approved, I don't think there's malicious intent out here. I think that the he owns the property, he's been trying to keep it rented, and he isn't down here every day or probably even down here every month. So little by little, tenants kind of do what they want to do, and things start to get non-compliant, I guess is the way I would describe it. And I think that's what happened here. When we went through the aerial images, the biggest thing probably is the debris and stuff that's on site, but also those blocks that are in the floodway. Those really appeared in probably 2019 or 2020. They haven't been around that long, but they're kind of behind the building. You don't really see them. You don't notice them that they're there. Unless something comes in, like an application for this, staff probably doesn't even know that stuff is going on unless something like this happens. So I feel like us coming in with this application has brought these issues to light. There was an old complaint from 2012. I'm not even sure what that was for, but we know that there's current things that are not in compliance out there. And Jeremy, basically said, I'll do whatever I need to do. And he's a man of his word. He'll do it.
Yeah, and I don't doubt you, Jeremy. It's just that I'm concerned if something were to happen and it just didn't work out. So that's why I say what I said. And I appreciate your comments, Steve, as well, with regards to DMV and how the licensure has to come back to planning to get approved. So we have a pretty big stick there.
We do.
And finally, I'll say that I appreciate that the cleanup effort is called out on the plans that are before us. So it actually enumerates the things that have to be done in order to get all that approved. There's a couple stipulations that you might know about that staff has suggested to us that we might want to consider. If I can just go through these and see what your temperature is on them, if you
Sure.
will. All right. One is a mitigation and emergency plan must be in place for flood events. Is that something that you would have a problem with, or?
Not at all.
Okay. Vehicles must be stored within a fenced area in a garage bay while on site. Is that?
Absolutely.
Okay. A spill prevention material management plan must be in place for the vehicle storage area.
Yeah, yes.
The 48 hours we mentioned. And then a fence around the vehicle storage area to include slats or screen to block the vehicles from view. I think you talked about that, but again, it's a stipulation that staff has brought to our attention as something to consider.
We
so.
think those are all completely reasonable. We would be happy to comply with those
Okay.
stipulations.
Okay. Anything else from the commission before we open up to the public?
Quick question.
Caleb?
Thanks. So you're just subletting a space. Would there be extra space on the site that could be utilized if wanted to be sublet to another individual? It's a pretty big space.
There is, yeah.
The applicant's not taking much of it up. So can we do other things with the space too to maximize it?
I would
Maybe.
suppose, yeah, I mean, if there were other people that wanted to come into the site, there could be, as long as they met the zoning requirements. I think they could come in, most likely. Maybe Jeremy's a better person to answer that question, but I think if they were, I don't know, Jeremy, if it's a non-special permit use in an I-1, I'm not sure if they would need a site plan or if they would just, I'm not sure how we would go about that.
I think the reality is we'd have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. I mean, you know, if somebody came to us and said, I'm going to rent this square of the property, we'd have to evaluate it at that time.
Okay, that's fair.
And there really is a really nice plan for this property called Cranberry Cove, which was a mixed-use development with multiple buildings and retail space and residential space on the second floor. And Dana still hopes to bring that forward. I think that they're very proud of the plan that they brought forward, and I just think that at this time, because of cost of construction and funding and stuff like that, has kind of put it on hold. But unfortunately for Jeremy, he probably won't be here forever. I think at some point this will get redeveloped, and you'll see something down there that complements the trail very nicely. So it is coming.
So to that point, how long is your lease agreement with the site?
I don't have a lease right now because I'm waiting for,
Pending on the
Jared,
decision
can you
here.
talk into the mic?
Yeah.
Please?
I don't have a lease right now. I'm waiting on the approval from the town before I do anything.
That's understandable too. Okay. I thought I had something else, but it eludes me at this point, so I yield back.
Okay. Anyone else before we open up to members of the public? Jamie?
If we were to move this forward, would you be okay with hours of 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., 6 days a week?
Yeah, I don't see why there'd be a problem with that. Like I said, this isn't we're not working on vehicles here. It'd be a bring in, bring out type of basic.
Mr. Chair.
Can you please repeat that?
If I had to do that to make it work, I wouldn't have a problem with that. As I've stated in my letter to you guys, kind of explaining how we do things and, you know, what I have on my trucks and what we're willing to do to mitigate, you know, less noise if I have to. But yeah, it doesn't really matter to me.
Because you did mention you had 2 other locations, New
Correct.
Britain and Plainville.
Well, we have
And
3
you said-
locations.
Yeah, and you said late at night you'd bring those to those locations?
Yes.
Before? Okay.
All of our locations are within houses. All 3 of them are, as a matter of fact. I'm surrounded by neighbors, and I've never once had a complaint at all. Even from my day-to-day operations of my shop, we're right next to people.
And you had mentioned that you'd clean up the property now, which is commendable, but who's going to keep up with the cleaning of the property once you move in?
I mean, I think once you pick up the stuff that's been there for 10, 15 years, the people who dumped them there aren't there to,
There's
them
other
back.
businesses in there, though. Are you going to keep the common way clean?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little bit of a cleaner guy.
Yeah. So, that's all I have.
That's it? Okay. All right, we're going to open it up to members of the public to comment and give you the opportunity afterwards, like we usually do, to come back up if you'd like. So we'll open it up to members of the public. If there's anyone who'd like to testify on this application, please come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and let us know what your thoughts are. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Mark Mangelo. I live at 152 Alder Lane in Southington. And my wife and I own property directly across the street from the suggested business. I did come in a little late, so I didn't catch all of Steve's introduction, but that's neither here nor there. I first want to say that I am not opposed to anyone who has a business opportunity and the ability to have a business and to keep people employed. So that's not my reason for being up here relative to anything that I say. Now, I heard Steve talk about the area and some of the things that would be going on. All I can say is that, I have faith and confidence in the commission that they're going to do, the right thing for the town of Southington. Obviously, that's why you're on this board, and we thank you for your service on this commission. I would hope that the commission, when it looks at the application, that they do a thorough examination of the application, as I'm sure you will, and that perhaps reading in between the lines of these agreements or these applications to ensure that it doesn't go beyond what the owner is suggesting or saying that they're going to be doing. I only say that because there is a auto towing and recovery business on Center Street that most of you know, across from the old Pexto and Wilcox building. And you drive by there during the day, there's a plethora of cars. I mean, even tonight, there's about 10 cars parked out in front of that building. The lights are on. I didn't see it tonight, but on occasion, when you're driving down Center Street, you see tow trucks, you see flatbed trucks. And I'm not saying that Mr. Berube is going to do that, okay? I'm not suggesting that in any way. Sounds, and he appears to be a very reputable business person. So I applaud him for that. I just would want to ensure that when the application is looked at and examined, that there isn't any fuzzy language that would allow this business to go beyond what Mr. Berube is saying he's going to be doing, and that you take a look at hours of operation. I know it was mentioned tonight, 8 a.m. or to 10 p.m., that those things are abided by, if that is indeed what the commission comes back with as set hours, and you look at other requirements regarding capacity, volume, number of cars, how long they're on the lot. As I said the last time I spoke, I know that property very well, having lived in this town and across the street from that property and growing up with the Perillo family. So coming in late, I did not hear what the cleanup was going to entail, but I would hope that the commission, and I know they will be, environmentally responsible to ensure that that property is cleaned up because it is in a flood zone, and that all precautions will be taken for, if it is approved, if this application is approved, that all precautions are taken relative to keeping it environmentally safe once it is cleaned up, and understanding how it will be monitored. So I'm hoping that the commission will put in some requirements or stipulations around this and frame it in such a way that it stays as the applicant has said they're hoping it's going to be, and stays that way, and it doesn't turn into a retail outlet of parts and people coming in and wanting to get parts out of a car and then selling those parts. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I would want to make sure, and I think the commission would want to make sure that that doesn't happen either. If it is truly towing and recovery, and then the vehicles are going to be removed from that property in a timely fashion and not staying there for months and months and whatever, and the property maintains itself, because we all know that whole area does need to be cleaned up. I mean, Steve is correct in saying there's a lot of stuff there, and it has been there for a long time, and it has been an eyesore in the town for a long time. And people walking that trail know that. So cleaning up that property, to me, is very important, and keeping it environmentally safe, knowing that it's in a flood zone, is extremely important, and I'm sure it's important to everyone on this commission and the people in the town. So that's all I want to say, is that when you examine the application, you look at it thoroughly, you go through and make sure that there's no room for fuzziness in interpretation, and that it can't be expanded to something broader or beyond what it was intended to be. And I think it was noted here that if the property changes hands, what's going to happen? Do those restrictions stay in place? Can those restrictions be enforced upon individuals who take this over? And if the retail and shop that were previously approved many years ago comes to fruition, and then Mr. Berube, I would imagine his lease is up, because his lease would have to be up because they're going to be doing construction there. How's that all going to play out? That's all I'm suggesting, and hopefully the right decision will be made. So thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Mark. Appreciate you coming out. Is there any other member of the public who'd like to comment on this application? Seeing none, Steve?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, just one thing about the other facility downtown. I know that unfortunately we're probably getting compared to that operation. And the one thing I want to point out about that operation, that site is mostly building. There's not a lot of parking. But it's also historically been a licensed repair shop. And I think this commission has not had the ability to get in there and really change it, because it's kind of been grandfathered in. So they never came, I don't believe they've ever come before this commission to request licensing, because it's always had a license on site. And, you know, the cars are out, they're not fenced, there's a limited space for them. So what we're proposing here is absolutely the polar opposite of what's happening over on West Center Street. That we're not looking to expand this operation other than the small footprint that we're taking right now. And there's not going to be cars, there's not going to be parts being taken from cars or anything like that. Strictly towing, recovery, and that's it.
So just to ask the question, right, and I appreciate your response to the comments that Mr. Mongillo brought up. There's no plans to do any retail
None.
or deconstruction of cars, or even work on cars other than towing and storing until they get to another site somewhere in Bristol or New Britain.
Absolutely none of that here.
The plan has a 30-foot by 70-foot storage area for the vehicles. What's the maximum amount of cars that could be stored there? A guesstimate.
I'd say 10 to 12 cars. I mean, they have to be accessible. They have to be able to get in and get out with the tow truck to pull them in and out. So you can't just completely fill that space. It has to have some maneuverability inside there, and that's why it's the size that it is.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you for giving us the time to work this out. And,
Anything else from the commission before? Caleb,
I
go ahead.
remember
Yep.
what I was going to ask.
Go for it.
So we relocated the building. So now,
the building is the existing building. We're just occupying a space in the existing building.
Okay.
We relocated the fenced car area, which was originally over in this area where this storage facility is.
so that's up gradient from
Yes.
where it previously was.
Yes, and there's
So-
solid surfacing here. I know that was one of the concerns about.
So some of the concerns with flooding, while it's not up a mountain, it is higher than it was.
It is, and the flood zone in this area, we're talking about, the 100-year flood is about 6 inches of water in this area, so it's not
Okay.
something that would be inundated.
Flooding happens, it's
It does.
getting worse, but I do appreciate the fact that it's a little bit more
Further.
difficult for the water to get to it.
And it's further from the river. That was the other reason for that location.
And then the original question that I wanted to ask was, and I think some of my colleagues had kind of alluded to this, with the change, if this was ever sold or something like that, it stays with the property. However, the site plan will also stay with the property, correct?
The special permit use, I believe, will stay as long as this is active. I don't know if Jeremy were to vacate this property, another towing company would want to come in, they still have to go back to DMV, they have to get a new license, and that has to be signed off by Jeremy or Matt, the zoning enforcement officer. So it would have to come back to zoning at that time if another operation wanted to come in here. So that's another opportunity for staff to review that application.
So at that point then, another site plan application would have to be submitted? So if somebody wanted to come in and make it bigger?
Special permit, it's not
It
a
would-
site plan.
Okay.
If they I think if they altered the plan, the site plan, that would require a new site plan.
That's where I'm going with
But if the business changed hands, what Steve is saying is they still have to get a licensure through DMV, which requires planning to sign off on it,
For that
which would mean that,
existing approved plan.
right, which would mean that they would, whoever that new applicant was, if you will, would have to make sure that the details on the plan that were approved through the planning department prior to that sign off, that all of that is adhered to.
Perfect. So, which leads me to my point that if somebody wanted to come in, and I think there was some comment about it before, and wanted to blow up the space and make it a lot bigger, that's not gonna happen.
That's not gonna happen.
They'd
They
have
have-
to come back to
they
us.
have to come back to you.
So if somebody new was to come in, they get what we approved today.
Absolutely.
If they wanna change it, they have to come back to the well.
And I don't know, I mean, maybe Jeremy or could speak to that, but I don't know if they'd have to come back for another special permit if it was another applicant. I don't know, but,
So that's not what I'm just asking if they wanna change the footprint of what they're doing.
then they would
Expand it.
they would have to
They
come
would
back here
change
for
the
special
site.
permit.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Those are my two.
You all set? Okay. Stephen, I don't want to talk for you. I hope that the way that I explained it is similar to the way you would have responded to Caleb, but.
Yeah, no,
okay.
I think we're
Okay,
on the same page.
just to clarify, right?
Yes.
Anything else from the commission?
Can I
Nothing?
can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Kristen, go ahead.
For the size of the storage area, how big is it going to be again?
You gave figures, I'm sorry.
It's 30 foot by 70 feet.
I
30 by
didn't revise the plan myself personally, so I have to rely on the chair for that, yes.
It's that little purple area down.
It's
on
basically this
yeah,
little
right there.
square right here.
And you said it can hold how many vehicles? I know I
10
heard
to
you
12
say with
vehicles is
the,
what we're estimating.
did we stipulate the max number of vehicles that could be on the property?
We haven't stipulated anything yet.
But you can.
We could, but we haven't stipulated anything yet.
And then, did the applicant say that they were going to store, I think I heard maybe 3 cars last time? Last time?
The storage is something that the cars will come and go. So
Right.
there may be a car there for a day or two, and then it'll come out. And so, but the idea of the corral is that there could be there could be up to 10 cars or 12 cars there coming and going over that period of time.
Okay.
And 1 tow truck is what our proposals for.
I have a couple questions if I could.
1 second, Kristen, you're all set?
Yes, yep.
Okay, Jamie.
I take very good notes, and the last time you were here, you had mentioned 2 or 3, maybe 4 vehicles,
Okay.
and now we're coming back with 10.
There
I'm
was
okay
a,
with
there was
more
a,
than 4.
yeah, there was a
Keep
question as to
growing.
how many cars could you fit in there, and I think that was my response. So
Yeah.
there wasn't an intention to up the number of vehicles.
But what is the maximum amount that you'd be okay with before we put stipulations if we do
I will,
approve this?
I'll ask the applicant, because
Okay.
he's better suited for that.
To answer your question, I don't know. I mean, I can assure you that nothing will go outside the fence. I can't tell you when Brian from down the road is gonna catch a dewey at 10 o'clock at night and I get towed back. I can't tell you if 10 of them happen. What I can tell you is that no vehicles will be stored outside the fenced-in area. So if that fence just so happened to hold 10 to 12 cars, then I'm assuming that that's going to be the max amount of cars that I can hold on the facility.
So just because you can hold 10 or 12 or 15, the last time you requested 2 or 3, no more than 4.
But I don't really think we got too far into detail last time because we knew about the open violation.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think we gave any real,
I personally am okay with more than 4, but now this has tripled in size. So I just want to make sure if we allow you 8, it doesn't turn into 16.
again, the only thing I can tell you is that you will not see any vehicles outside of the said fenced area that we have on the plans.
But you understand, if we give you a stipulation of
Yeah,
8,
that's fine.
there can't be 10 or 12.
That's fine. I have other locations that we can move them to if
Yeah.
needed, as
Yeah.
I've stated before.
And the removal was 24 to 48 hours? The discussion you had with town staff?
I can't agree to hold to that. I don't know what, there's processes that, you can get pulled over for unregistered one day and the customer can come get it the next day. You can catch a DUI, it's a 48-hour hold. You can get into a car accident, the insurance company could be on vacation and not come for a week. There's just, holding cars is not our business to want to extend more than a, I'd say, a week to 2 week process.
I understand, but your proposal was for 2 days. And now it's a week to 10 days.
Yeah, I understand. This is a towing operation. I can't agree at that every car that comes in is going to be out within 48 hours. It's just
But
not.
that's what you proposed, and you proposed this to be a short-term location, and you would move it to another location. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So I think that I think that was my impression. So if anything, I would say I didn't dig deep enough into Jeremy's operation when I made that proposal. So I thought that that's where we needed to be.
So Steve, if we were to give you a max of 8, would that work for your client?
I believe that he can make that work. Can you make that work? Yes.
Okay. That's it, thank you.
Good. Rob?
I mean, your purpose of being here really is to just start working in Southington, right?
Correct.
So you don't really care about how long or how many cars. You're not looking for volume, you're looking for the opportunity to work here. And then if you have to put them in Bristol or New Britain or your other locations, that's your goal, right?
Storing the cars to appease your
Can we
requirements.
get
is
close
not-
to the microphone? There's
Store-
people who are watching this, so that's why.
Storing the cars for a shorter period is not going to make or break my company. Like I said, we do have multiple locations that we don't mind running them over to that to keep the site clean and up to, I guess, the town standards,
Yeah.
which I'm okay with.
So this is really just your gateway to do business in Southington.
It's our gateway. I opened up a shop in Sullyington years and years ago at the old transmission place, which I lasted about a year and I went out of business. So we're going on almost 10 years strong now and about 17 employees and 15 trucks and 4 locations. So Sullyington, I live in Sullyington. 3 of my guys live in Sullyington. We are a AAA garage in Bristol and we want to eventually come to Sullyington, but I can't come to Sullyington without
Right.
this.
That's why I wanted to do that quick recap, just so we're not
And
on semantics.
to mention the fact that the trucks that we will be having registered in Sullyington will bring a great amount of tax dollars to Sullyington. So,
That's all.
All
Thank
set,
you.
Rep?
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from members of the commission? I'm going to look to town staff. There were a number of questions that were raised by both engineering and planning departments. Have your questions been answered to your satisfaction?
Mr. Chairman, engineering's all set.
Okay.
Planning's all set.
All right. Absent anything else, is there any reason to keep this public hearing open? We good to close it?
I'm ready to close it. I don't know about you guys. I just want to thank you for going through and vetting it out. And if I apologize if Jeremy and I didn't have our numbers lined up. I think maybe I misunderstood what his intentions were. And I appreciate the streamlining of the operation, helping us explain to you clearer what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Thank you very
Stick
much.
around, we'll get to you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you.
But, any objection to closing the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on this one, move on to item 9B, 1403 Group LLC Special Permit Modification Application for the expansion of Superior Products use of 1403 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike into 180 Norton Street. The parcels will be combined and the area will be fenced in and screened with arborvitae's. Property located at 1403 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, zoned in a B zone, SPU 695. Mr. Bravino, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you.
How was everyone's Easter? Good?
Filling,
Huh?
filling.
Filling. Oh, that's fine.
Hyped up on sugar.
I feel like I'm in Final Jeopardy here, folks, like,
I don't know why it's not picking up.
Play some music again like we did that one time.
The ones at the bottom, right? I had 4 sheets, separate sheets.
And one.
Nope,
One above it,
that's
one above it,
not- Above?
one above it.
The one right here, right?
Right there,
Is
yep.
that the one you thought?
That one.
Yeah, I thought I clicked on that.
One above it.
One more above. I had all 4 filled in. This one, you think? Nope,
no,
one more. Right below to this one.
Are you using the flash drive location, though?
I'm looking for the file that shows the site plan and the overall, I had pictures of the area.
here we go. Now
Oh,
our
now
IT
it's
people are
moving.
coming out.
Okay, now it's moving, there you go. Okay, let's see.
It's a nice, it's a nice shirt that you got there.
Thank you.
This is Southington, Caleb, though.
Well, you apparently have to bring in the pros.
Well, I don't know, we're better than New Britain is, any day, on any measure, I would suggest.
Bold on any measure.
This is a USB, right?
How about those Yankees, folks, huh?
Sweep before.
That one's for you, Paul. That's an undefeated right now, my friend.
I got Yankees talking about UConn.
Oh, well,
Come on, Final Four.
you know, I have a different opinion of UConn than probably most people do, so
Here you go.
It's not a graduate.
I did not, no.
This one.
Oh, no, let me find it. South Bend, State map application.
Okay, does anyone have any objection to me closing the public hearing on this item?
I have to change it, then I'll go to this one.
Which one, this one?
Let's go to this one.
This one?
Come on.
So that one, see if that works.
There we go.
All right.
All right.
Well, I was trying to present some
Thank you for your
additional
help.
mapping. Mr. Chairman, Commission members, sorry about that. I was trying to present
Seth,
additional
let's start with
mapping.
their name and address.
Seth Bovino, planner with Kratzer Jones, representing the applicant.
Thank you.
So orientation purpose, this is, to the right here is Norton Street. North is up to the sheet, and the shaded are the structures on the property. And the proposal is to extend the fence line from this location north to the northerly line and install a fence with the landscaping shrubbery in front of it, similar to what's there today. The applicant asked me to recap this. The reason why we're here is because the state in the last couple of years has sent the applicant information about the reconstruction of the Norton Street and the bridge on Meriden-Waterbury Turnpike, indicating that they're going to shut this curb cut down for a long period of time. So the applicant came before this board, and we received approval for a site plan for this new curb cut further north on Norton Street. So this was not something that the applicant wanted to do for his operation. It's something that he had to do. So we received approval for this curb cut, and that's what he's going to do. And so he has been proactive to prepare himself, so when the state says, next month we're going to start digging, he wants to make sure he's ready to go with his operation so he doesn't lose business. Part of this, once we did this proposed curb cut, realized that he lost space, usable space on his property. So he purchased the property to the north, which was his brother's property, removed the house, and basically half of this is going to be green space on Norton Street because we placing a fence 40 feet from the property line. And so that's what we're trying to do, fence that in and utilize this part of the operation. At the last meeting, the board asked me about if we were prepared about asking a waiver of a sidewalk. We contacted the state, knowing that the state was going to rebuild this area. They sent us maps showing the sidewalks. I don't know if staff shared those maps with you. But because the state cannot pin down the exact time when they're going to start, is that 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now? They don't know. They cannot give us a date, and they shared the letter with staff. So we are now at the point we do need to have asked you for a waiver of sidewalk, which we are officially requesting it. And I want to pass around a map that shows properties within 2,000 feet, linear feet, north, east and west of this property. Part of your regulation, you have an option to waive sidewalks based on the fact that if within 2,000 feet of the property, the existing properties are developed, 75% of them are developed, the applicant has the right to ask, and you have the ability to grant a waiver. So I'm going to pass around these maps to show where this property was related.
Zev, why don't you just leave it with Caleb, he can pass it around so you can get on with your presentation.
Basically,
Let's wait to talk until you get to the mic, please.
The 2,000 feet takes you to the west, to the Mandarin Restaurant. From our corner, it's about 2,000 feet to the Mandarin Restaurant, and to the west is to the Mandarin. To the east will be to Birch Drive, approximately. So if you look at that stretch of road on the north side of the property, north side of the road, most properties are developed, and so on the south side. So we are asking for the waiver based on section 6.H.52E, where it says where the proposed development or site is located in an area of a street or road is at least 75% developed, and where the practicality or feasibility of a sidewalks being connected to the site does not exist. So that's what we asking the commission to consider, granting the variance based on that situation, and not connecting this with a state promise to do the construction, because we don't know when it's going to be. If you have any questions at this time, the client did take steps, spend a lot of money to purchase the property. He's going to spend a lot of money to rebuild this curb cut, and really there's no benefit to him other than maintaining his current operation. It's not an expansion of additional building or anything.
Okay, thank you, Zev. Let's open it up to members of the commission. Anyone have any questions of the applicant? Steve?
Seb, so this picture, so 2,000 feet in each direction, there's sidewalks in 2,000 feet in either direction, with a gap being on this parcel?
There is no sidewalks. There's a sidewalk when you go east, right where Pelagano is, next to Pelagano, I believe. There's a car operation there. There's a small section of sidewalk there, and there's a small section of sidewalk at the corner of Old Turnpike, where the restaurant is. That's it. There's no
Right, so
sidewalks.
virtually 4,000 feet with no sidewalk?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for members of the commission? Zev, on the sidewalk, you acknowledge that the regulation allows the commission the discretion to decide. Those are just options that you can make a plea for us to decide to give you a sidewalk waiver, correct?
We understand that, and that's why we're here to request that waiver based on this regulation, and if you consider it, would be appreciated, because there's a lot of money to spend in addition to what he spent already to work this driveway situation. It's a state action that's taking place. It's not something he wants to do, and so he's under the gun because of that.
Okay, and with regards to the DOT's response that was provided to us, which is an email that was sent to Mr. O'Sullivan on April 1, 2024, by a Charles Grillo, registered PE that works for the Department of Transportation, he really didn't come down and say that definitively that this project could possibly not even move forward at all. What he says is that there's a project under consideration, I'm paraphrasing, that there's a project in that area under consideration. However, it's not proceeded to a construction phase or really even a final design phase at this time. Is that an accurate?
Well,
representation
those are
of what it
his
says?
words, so I cannot put any meaning to his words other than he's not saying if and when it starts. We know that the plans are done, there's additional work to be made to the plans. There's a commitment in a sense that this intersection, it has been problematic for years, and they're gonna do something about it. The question is when.
Right, but what they're going to do about it is still up in the air as well, isn't it?
That's why we're not saying to you, the state is putting them in. And what we're saying, we know that the state has considered putting them in, but we're asking a waiver because of the hardship on the
And
cost.
I'm just, there's a nuance in considering and actually doing it, right? I mean, we're not at that final point where they're saying they're going to do it. And, okay. Any other questions from members of the commission at this time? Sev, anything else before we open it up to the public?
No, sir.
Okay. So at this time, we'll open up to members of the public. If there's anyone who'd like to testify on this application, please come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and let us know what you think. Going twice. Sev, anything before we move on here?
Mr. Chairman, no, other than when you're ready to vote on, after your vote on the sidewalk, then we'll have to make a decision on the SPU, obviously. So if you give me.
The sidewalk waiver will be taken up separately as part of the SPU application. Yes.
But you're going to first take the sidewalk vote first, correct? And then you're going to vote on the SPU.
That's correct, but you're not going to get a chance to come back up here afterwards and talk, because as I said in the beginning, once we go into the business meeting, you do not have an opportunity to come up here and address the commission.
So once you take the vote on the sidewalk, I won't be able to come up and speak regarding the site plan, the SPU?
Correct.
All right, then I would request that if the vote is a no, that we're going to request a table of the SPU.
Okay, fair enough. And you know that on the sidewalk waiver, it requires a 2/3 majority of the commission, right?
We do, yes.
Which is, number-wise, gives us
I think you need 5.
2/3 of 7 voting members is 2.33. So if we get 3 members voting against a waiver, that means that the waiver is not granted, correct? Alex, is that?
I didn't do the math,
It's
but
2.33.
I can do the 2.3. I was just checking when the application was sent in to make sure we're not hitting any statutory
Okay.
deadlines. And I
Are we hitting any deadlines if we table this?
I think we're there.
Yeah, it's only been
I'll
on
make
the
sure we have some
agenda
time.
for a couple weeks, or a couple meetings, I think, like 2 maybe. This might be the 3rd one.
Yeah, I think you're okay on time. You would
You
need
could-
5 yeses to approve the waiver.
Right, okay. So, if you understand the timeline thing, you don't think
Yeah,
we're going to hit
if you
it?
feel there's a timeline problem, you let me know, but I don't think so.
Well, it's not on us to let you know. It's really your responsibility to know. But you've requested a table if the sidewalk waiver doesn't get approved.
That's right.
Okay. So that's on the record. Okay. Nothing else from the applicant, nothing else from the public. Is there any objection to closing the public hearing on this application? Does anyone have any? And so if you understand that if we close the public hearing on this, even though we table the application, you do not have an opportunity to come back and talk to us again because the public hearing would technically be closed, right?
If it's
I
tabled.
think you want to see what your presents are before you decide whether you want to keep them. But technically, and according to Robert's Rules of Order, which we all follow, you are not given another opportunity to come back and address the commission because the public hearing is closed. You get that, yes?
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
The other issue is if the applicant's going to request a table and then look to revise the plans, public hearing's already been closed. We won't be able to have a public hearing for any revised plans.
Another,
So-
so if you wanted to come back and refile another application, then that would give you another opportunity, but you don't have another bite at the apple
I was
at
not
this.
asking that the public hearing be closed. I was asking after the sidewalk vote, that you would table the public hearing and keep it open.
Public hearing has to be closed in order for us to take action on the application.
The application of the SPU.
The sidewalk waiver is part of the SPU application, yes.
So you cannot take action on the sidewalk waiver without, and keeping the public hearing open on the SPU? That doesn't sound right. Because the reason we asked for that, to give us a chance to evaluate
Yeah,
your vote,
right.
and what do we do about it?
Right, I understand. I'm just trying to think if there's a way for us to do that.
The site plan that you've got in front of you is tied to your SPU.
Right,
So the sidewalk waiver is part of the site plan, which is tied to the SPU. If you close the public hearing, you're right. I mean, if you close the public hearing, no revised plan could come back. They need to be taken together.
right.
And you're right, you need
So
to close.
so the
public-
applicant is asking us to take a vote on the sidewalk waiver without closing the public hearing. I don't know that we can split the baby like that.
I don't know that I feel comfortable with that.
Alex?
You can't vote on an application with keeping the public hearing open. The sidewalk waiver is part of the app.
Right.
It's part of the application process.
So we don't have a site plan in front of you right now, you know?
You do.
Pardon?
You do. It's an SPU site plan.
It's
right there.
It's an SPU. We call it a site plan, but we don't have a site plan application. We have an SPU application for expansion of a non-conforming use of space, which we received ZBA approval for. The site plan for the curb cut was approved months ago.
The site plan for the curb cut was approved months ago.
Yes.
But this is tied to the expansion of the non-conforming use. Essentially, what you're looking for is an expansion of non-conforming use of your outside storage in the side yard. And you're showing a site plan where you're gonna locate that outside storage. So the site plan is tied to your special permit in this case.
So Savvy,
Okay.
you have to decide what you want us to do. I'm happy to table the public hearing and not close it if you'd like. But once we close it, that's it on this application. And if you wanted to come back, say the sidewalk waiver was not granted, because that's what you're angling at, right? Like if it's not granted, you want to come back and talk about something different, right?
We want to analyze what that entails in terms of costs, in terms of what we can do about it.
Right.
Can we bond the sidewalk, you know,
Right.
if you decide to require the sidewalk? So we need a little breathing room to be able to check that out.
But if the sidewalk waiver is granted, then all of this
Goes away.
becomes a moot point.
That's right.
Right.
So-
So let's just play out this scenario, right? So if the sidewalk waiver is not granted, if I close the public hearing, the sidewalk waiver is not granted, you can, and the SPU gets approved, you can always come back with a revised plan under a separate SPU application if that's what you decide to do. Otherwise, the SPU as approved stands on the property.
Correct. The other option for the applicant would be to come back with a separate application under the new zoning regulations that we approved as of March 9th, I think.
Right.
We have the payment in lieu of process for the sidewalks. So they could come back and offer the payment in lieu of those sidewalks if the waiver during this application is not approved.
So you cannot vote on the sidewalk waiver unless you close the public hearing?
Correct.
So the choice is either to table the whole thing, possibly, just. table
Yes,
it.
or if you want to table, then we'll table it. You know, and you could talk to your client and come back 2 weeks from now and let us know what you want to do. I'll leave it up to you. I mean, it's your application. You tell me what you want, but
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the ramifications may be.
I'll tell you what, if it's okay with members of the commission and okay with you, Seb, why don't we move into we'll keep it open for now, okay? We'll move into the business meeting. We'll take care of those agenda items that don't involve this application. Give you time to talk to your client. You can go out in the hallway and have a conversation to decide what you want to do. And then after we're done with the 6 things outside of this application, we'll come back and ask you to give us an answer, and we'll act accordingly.
Okay.
Does that sound fair?
Very fair.
Okay, let's
Thank
keep the public hearing open on that, and we'll move into our business. Is that doable? Yeah. Let's move into our business meeting then. Item 10, A, Skytop Towing and Recovery LLC, special permit application for proposed automobile towing and recovery service to occupy a portion of an existing industrial site property located at 102 West Center Street, located in the business zone, SPU 694. Just discussion on this. Motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve SPU 694.
Second?
We have a motion
With stipulation.
from Commissioner Sewell, a second from Commissioner Coles. Jamie,
Should I? Go ahead.
the floor is yours.
The stipulations go with the second one.
Okay. So,
Okay. With the stipulations, number 1, a mitigation emergency plan must be in place for flood events. Number 2, all vehicles, including company vehicles, must be stored within the fenced-in area or in the garage bay while on site. Number 3, a spill prevention material management plan must be in place for the vehicle storage area. 4, all towed-in vehicles must be removed from the site within 96 hours. Number 5, fence around the vehicle storage area to include slats or screen to block vehicles from view. Number 6, all garbage to be cleaned up prior to moving in and signed off by staff. 7, hours of operation, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Only 6 days a week, no holidays. Number 8, no repairs or any type of service. Those 8.
okay. Caleb, are you okay with those?
So the only one I thought that we had talked a little bit more about was to make it hours of operation until 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that.
You're okay with those? Okay, so we have a motion and a second with several stipulations on that, open for commission discussion. Jamie, you want to say anything, or
I
the
think-
floor is still yours?
I
sir?
think these proposals are perfect. I tightened up some of them, and I loosened up other ones from what the town staff has recommended, and I feel confident in what they said they're going to do, they will do.
Okay.
So I think it's a good plan.
Okay. Anyone else? Rob?
Yeah, the only thing I want to discuss is, being in retail myself, sometimes you can't control, there's some uncontrollables. So putting that time restriction, I don't know if we can help them a little bit there for an increase. I mean, 10 o'clock, that's when most people go to bed.
So I think the time equipment or requirement comes from their business plan.
Okay.
It's
Is that-
very,
is
very
that true?
common.
Okay.
Very common, and I think we were pretty lax with that. And as Steve had mentioned, he was okay with that.
Yeah, no, I think they've been pretty stand-up about most of it. I just try to give
We
them
do
a
have
little
houses
flexibility
right
too.
across the street.
Yeah, and we did hear from somebody in the public too.
Yeah.
Their business plan, Rob, actually says Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, except major holidays.
All right, so
So,
I'm good.
but I hear what you're saying. Anyone else? Any other comments from the commission? Kristen, go ahead.
Did we specify the number of vehicles being housed on the site?
I didn't hear any of that as a stipulation, no.
Nope.
Anything else?
To that point, I'm okay with the capacity of the enclosure as maxing them out, as long as the applicant stated that he wasn't gonna go outside the enclosure, so he gets what he gets, and as we touched, as I kind of brought up before, the site plan is the site plan, and it's not gonna change unless we come back here and reevaluate it, so I think that this is an appropriate use of the space.
Okay. Any other? Joe?
I just wanted to ask about the 96-hour limitation. Sometimes when you have a police investigation and they secure a vehicle,
Get a little closer, Mike, Joe, please.
somebody's police investigations, for example, in a fatal accident, those vehicles might have to stay in place for longer than 96 hours while the investigation is ongoing, and they can't be moved once they're secured. So do we want to have something in there that allows him to, the ability in that special circumstance, as long as the vehicles are not going to be able to be seen, to keep that vehicle in place? Do we want to consider that, for that special consideration only?
If I may, I doubled the time that town staff had recommended.
Okay.
They did mention they had 2 other locations.
Yep.
So if that's going to be the case, I would recommend one of the other locations.
Joe,
Okay,
you all set?
sure.
Anything else from members of the commission before we vote? I applaud the applicant for being willing to clean this area up. It really isn't necessarily fair, but I appreciate the effort and coming forward to do that. A little bit torn on this one, but I think ultimately it's going to result in a better use of that property. So I'll be voting in favor of this application. And with that, Jeremy, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Gaida?
Yes.
Commissioner Salmeri?
Yes.
Commissioner Walowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammersley?
Hammers is a yes. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item 10B, Skytop Towing and Recovering LLC site plan application for proposed automobile towing and recovery service to occupy a portion of the existing industrial site property located at 102 West Center Street, zoned business, SPR 1876. Steve?
Mr. Chairman, there really isn't anything different from our public hearing application to the site plan, so I would just ask you to take all my testimony and put it towards the site plan. If you have any additional questions for me, I'd be happy to answer.
See it, okay, Steve, thank
Thank
you. Discussion, motion.
I make a motion to approve SPR 1876.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second?
Commissioner Coles with a second. Any discussion from members of the commission? Seeing none, can you please call the roll, Jeremy?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Gaida?
Yes.
Commissioner Salmeri?
Yes.
Commissioner Walowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammersley?
Hammers is a yes, 7-0, motion carries. Congratulations, best of luck. We're going to skip over item 10C and move on to item 10D. Ahmed Kalaroy, floodplain filling application for proposed grading within a flood zone in association with proposed gas station and convenience store property located at 1177 Queen Street, zoned in the business zone FF277. Hi.
Hi, thank you. I'm Dory Famigletti. I'm an attorney at Kahan, Kerensky, and Capicella. I'm representing the applicant, Ahmed Chowdhury, in connection with this application. And I'm wondering, can we do the presentation for both the site plan and the floodplain filling applications?
Yeah, the site plan is next on the agenda. Let's just take two
So we'll
birds with
just-
one stone. Yeah, let's go.
Wonderful, thank you. I have with me Nathaniel Fleming. He's our engineer from Fedis Engineering. As you know, the property's at 1177 Queen Street. Just a little bit of history as to what we've done to date. Well, even before what we've done to date. The site, I'm told 30-plus years ago, was a gas station. Up until about 30-plus years ago, it was a Hess station, and then it's been vacant since. I'm sorry. And it's been vacant since. My client's under contract to purchase it. And in connection with that, we have been to the ZBA in order to get a special exception for a gas station on the property. Your previous version of the regulations required a special exception from the ZBA as opposed to a special permit now from the Zoning Commission. That's still in effect, so that's already of record. And we also got a wetlands approval because there are some wetlands at the rear of the property. We're old school. We have an easel with our plan there, so I'm going to have Nathaniel bring that up, and he can show
Sometimes
you.
old school works.
Sometimes it
works
does, right.
better.
So what we're going to talk about now, when Nathaniel comes up, is the site development plan, and that will also touch on the floodplain filling. And we're proposing, as you can see, a gas station about 4,000 square feet in size. It will also have a convenience store and a drive-through window. And with that, Nathaniel, why don't you show them the plan and walk them through it? And I'm here just to answer questions.
Okay, thank you.
Nathaniel Fleming, 70 Essex Street, Bistic, Connecticut. I'm a civil engineer at Fedis Engineering, representing the client. So the site is located at 1177 Queen Street. Like Dory gave the brief history of the site, it was previously a gas station. The existing conditions of the site is currently a vacant lot. The gas station that was there 30, 40 plus years ago is no longer there. There is some existing bituminous asphalt on the site with remnants of the old, I believe, Hess station. There's an existing well on the site. Pretty, well, there's wetlands in the back, like Dory said. The Quinnipiac River is back there. Most of our development is not in the review zone, just the bypass lane and the drive-through. The detention basin, however, is in the floodway review zone and the wetland review zone. Moving on to the site plan, so we're proposing 4 pump islands, egress and egress of both exits, traffic flow around the site, a bypass lane around the site. The detention basin is behind here. Traffic flow throughout the site has been considered to, make sure that there aren't any, fender benders, stuff like that. Drainage-wise, we're actually catching all the water on the site, doing a combination of a detention basin and underground infiltration and storage. The roof water from the building will be funneled into this underground infiltration system, where then it will overflow into the system, piped all the way back here into this storm scepter, where it is not infiltrating to the ground due to its proximity to the detention basin. Well, then it will be discharged into the detention basin and then captured and stored and then slowly discharged back into the watershed, meeting existing discharge rates. For soil and erosion control, we followed state guidelines, sized the temporary sediment basin. I believe there are calculations in the packet. We're going to use the proposed basin as the temporary basin during construction. Have silt fence around the site, stockpiling in the front with silt fence, construction apron. As for lighting and landscaping, we proposed, I believe, 3 area lights, canopy lighting, and 3 wall packs on the building. The lighting is contained on our site. For landscaping, we complied with street trees per the zoning regulations. We have a soil scientist report recommending the planting of the basin and everything in the floodplain. Details of the dumpster enclosure pad. Actually, that's a good thing to come up. That came up in the comments. Dumpster pad will be here. It will be fully enclosed on a concrete pad with stockade fencing. And I believe that's it, unless we want to get into the details of the plan. If you have any questions or...
Okay. Thank you.
Just a few things to add. In your packet, you should have a full traffic analysis that was done. The regulations do require, if there's going to be more than 75 trips generated during a peak hour, we submit a traffic analysis. Also, that we make sure that we're not reducing level of service below level of service C anywhere. And the traffic report that you got, which I hope you've all had a chance to review, does address all of that. As Nathaniel mentioned, we do have the 2 driveways coming in and out of the property using the existing curb cuts. I believe can I pull this down? The driveway further to the north is a shared driveway with the property to the north, and that was part of an access easement that was granted previously. And your regulations do require shared driveways to minimize curb cuts as necessary and as possible. Traffic report also discusses the sight lines, that those are adequate for the roadway there, and that there is no negative impact expected on traffic and traffic circulation. Nathaniel, I thought maybe you could just briefly touch on the stormwater pollution prevention plan, which I know was one of the staff comments to add to the application. So if you want to just touch on that.
Sure. For the stormwater prevention plan, really it's going down to maintenance and inspection of the stormwater systems after major storm events. I believe, I don't have that in front of me. There's a maintenance schedule on the plans here, but there's also a report I believe you guys have. Just making sure debris is outside the plunge pool, making sure catch basins aren't full of debris, stuff like that. The storm hydrodynamic separators need to be cleaned out periodically. I believe it's inspected at least twice a year, and making sure there's not debris buildup. You want to make sure those things are clear to make sure they function properly.
And speaking of the hydrodynamic separators, another requirement is your TSS removal rate, and the reports demonstrate that we've got a 92% TSS removal rate, which is in excess of the deep requirement of, I believe, 80%. I think then, just as an aside, I had mentioned that the property had previously been used 30-plus years ago as a gas station. You do have a Phase 1 that was also submitted as part of the application. The staff had requested that. They just wanted to know a little bit more about the environmental history of the property. That does report that there's no evidence of prior releases, and there's also no evidence of tanks currently on site. Although there wasn't a manifest specifically of the tanks being pulled, there is manifest of tanks being emptied, and it's understood that the tanks were probably pulled sometime around the late 80s. So with that, we can answer any other questions specific that you have to the design of the site.
Okay.
Yes, any questions you have, yes.
Let me just real quick, because there's two different things here, right? One is the floodplain filling and one is the site plan. Let's talk about the floodplain filling, that there's a note about inland wetlands approval and recommendation to this commission. And I'm looking at that letter dated February 7th, 2024, with two different stipulations included in there. One was an update of the Phase 1 report prior to site plan approval, which has to do with the next agenda item. And the second one was to replace the silver linen tree with a native alternative. Taking the second one first, have you replaced the silver linen tree with a native alternative on the plan?
I don't know if we've replaced it on the plan, but we have no objection to doing so, and we can change that detail.
So go back to the Phase 1 report, saying that what Inland Wetlands again suggested is that the Phase 1 report needed to be updated prior to site approval. I'm looking at the Phase 1 that you submitted, which is dated about 12 days after the wetlands, dated February 20th, 2024. Does that Phase 1 report from Sovereign Consulting Incorporated reflect an updated Phase 1 site or Phase 1 report on that site?
I believe it does. We had given some manifest, some prior information, but not a full Phase 1 prior to the wetlands. But I guess I would turn it to staff and make sure that they're satisfied with it.
We are satisfied with the updated phase report.
Okay, so that meets that the two qualifications that Inland Wetlands put on their approval or suggestion to us that we approve, that those have both been satisfied.
That's correct.
Okay, or at least the second one with the tree, you're open to satisfying that one?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm gonna move to the site plan if I can, and I'm not sure that it was a good idea to take these two up at once, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we'd be answering most of the
The
same
site plan has not even been taken into consideration or reviewed by the health department. You understand that, correct?
That it has not yet been?
As of 4/1, which was Monday.
Okay.
Yesterday. The applicant has not started the application review process with the health department.
Okay, so obviously any approval would be conditioned upon satisfying
Well, I
all
think a
health code
stipulation that
requirements.
health department is satisfied is
Yes.
in the offing, if you will, right? But I just want to make sure that that's factual, and you understand that. There's also a comment about the sidewalk easement and Molar map need to be approved by the town attorney prior to recording in the town land records.
Right, correct. And I believe a prior version of the town staff comment said that the plan and map would need to be approved prior to CO as well. So prior to CO, we'll work out those details and then get it all approved by the town attorney before we file anything.
And there's a need to gain DOT approval for work within the right-of-way?
Correct.
You understand that? Provide for detailed fencing around the detention pond, including access gates. Is that included in the plan we're looking at?
Did you add that yet?
That's not included yet, but we'll
You're open to do that, okay.
Yep.
Check to see if, with the building official, if safety railing is needed at the top of the retaining wall. So we could just stipulate that building is satisfied. Okay, we'll get there.
And if the building official does require it and says it's necessary, then we can add that onto the final plan.
An NDDP request must be submitted to deed prior to construction activities.
It has been submitted, we just haven't gotten a response
Okay,
from them yet.
So it has to be approved, obviously. Okay, that's just going through staff notes. Before I say anything else, let's just open it up to members of the commission on this. Steve?
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of loose ends here that need to be tied up. I'm not comfortable stipulating any of them. You've just seen what we've done to previous applicants, making them dot the i's and cross the t's. I just think this is an incomplete request that you're putting forward right now.
So a few things with regard to DOT. Will they act on the encroachment?
I actually got a
permit?
response letter today.
Okay.
I'm happy to share that with staff. I got a response letter from DOT. The plans that we submitted to staff was submitted to DOT at the same time. I just got a review letter. I'm happy to share that with staff and comply, but it was received today.
So let's take the two things separately, right? The floodplain filling application, are you okay with moving forward on that one, Steve? That seems to have less hair on the dog, if you will.
How many yards of material are you proposing for the filling?
I believe it nets out because what we're filling, if we look at the grading plan, we're making up for it for the detention basin that we're digging, so it's going to be a
Cut
net.
and fills? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Are you okay with working on that one?
Yeah, I'm fine.
They're going to be taken up separately on a vote anyways, but I just want to make sure that you're good with that.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
fine.
okay. On the floodplain filling application, is there any other questions of the applicant from members of the commission? Okay, let's move to the site plan. Steve, would you feel more comfortable if we waited on that one until some of that stuff got started, or
I just think-
are you okay if we stipulate things in there, or?
It's a lot of
it's-
stipulations.
I
I don't
know.
think it's fair to previous applicants that we're going to allow
Okay.
an application that needs this much to pass.
So fair enough. So I think the suggestion is on the site plan application that we hold off on taking action on that until some of that stuff has been started and there's a demonstration by the applicant yourselves that you've started to tighten it up a little bit, if you will. Does that make sense?
If that's how the commission would like to do it, then we can certainly make sure we revise all that, come back with the updated revisions, and then you'll be more comfortable acting.
Okay. Are we bumping up against any timeline here?
We're not, but if I may,
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
like to just update you on a couple of these things, just to maybe help get us a little closer to the finish line. So if I can just run through those stipulations, and those do come from us, and some of them are a little bit of a belt and suspenders approach. Health Department approval, understand that the Southington Water Department is not serving this property, and so therefore they are subject to a private well. The well will have to be approved by Connecticut DPH. Our local health district can't approve the plan, essentially, until they get the Phase 1A approval from Connecticut DPH, which could take months. So that's the one thing I'll say about the Health Department approval. Also note that a building permit, it can't be issued until the Health Department approval is obtained. So that's number one. The sidewalk easement map, I think that's pretty straightforward. CONDOT, this is really a belt and suspenders approach on our part. OSTA will not issue a permit until the local permit is issued from the Planning Commission. So we put that stipulation on there because it is a state road, but know that they won't get their approval from CONDOT until we issue it. And then the safety fencing and railing, again, that's a belt and suspenders approach there. The building code will stipulate whether or not a railing is necessary. So I wanted to throw that out there just to kind of clarify why we have some of those things on our list.
Okay.
Can I
Thanks,
ask a
Jeremy.
question then?
Yep.
So is the only other, I just want to make sure, I'm sorry, that my notes are complete. Is the only other item then that is outstanding is changing the plan to reflect the change in tree for the wetlands approval?
It is changed, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a birch.
That's on the floodplain application, that's not on the site plan,
okay.
right?
Correct, that was floodplain filling. I'd say the other thing, and I think you mentioned it in your comments, is we were looking for an NDDP request to be submitted to DEP. We haven't gotten proof of that, but you said that that was done.
That was submitted, right. Any idea how much, how long ago did you submit that?
About a month ago, so I just gotta follow up with them.
Okay.
Sure.
No. No, I'm not. I mean, why is it? I'll talk to you after meeting.
Whichever you prefer. If there's reluctance, I certainly don't want to back the commission into a corner. We do have time to process this. A lot of these things, as your staff is saying, are kind of belt and suspenders, and some things we're kind of waiting on, and we can't move forward without them anyway. So if you were comfortable just having them as a condition of building permit or what have you, then we would be fine with that too.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that's,
Mr. Capone, you got your hand raised down there, so.
I guess the question is on the DOT review, is it going to encompass any revisions to the plan?
I think there are some minor revisions, and I think it's dimensioning the entrance and exits and a little change to the sidewalk type.
Okay, so I'm not sure as far as consideration, since the plan has to be revised anyway, maybe wait on the site plan, based on revisions of DOT. Otherwise, staff is going to have to, these plans will get approved, they're going to have to be revised anyway and then stamped, so
Yeah,
we clear it up all.
I appreciate that, Jim, and I don't like to hold up applicants, and you all have been patient. I think that you've made some honest efforts to get these things addressed. If it's okay with you, which I've already asked you, and you've indicated that you're okay with it, so I think the way that we'll proceed is we'll deal with the floodplain application, take action on that, and then ask you to come back in 2 weeks and just show us that you've made some positive efforts towards addressing the other stuff, and then we'll try to take that up in 2 weeks, if that's okay.
that's fine.
Is that okay?
That's acceptable. Thank you.
Is the commission okay with that? Yeah? Jamie, you okay? Okay. You okay with that, staff? You good? Okay.
And I don't think there's too much to change, so we'll get plans into you promptly so you have enough time to work them through your staff and then get a clean memo to the commission. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, yep. So let's take up item 10D, which is the floodplain application on this site. Any discussion, motion, what do we got?
I'll make a motion to approve FF 277 with two stipulations: to update the Phase 1 report to site plan approval, and to replace the silver linden tree with native alternative, which I assume are already done. Is it birch? Birch, with birch.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Great power is great responsibility, birch trees. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Britton with a second. Discussion. Anything? Could we get a roll call on this, please?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Gaida?
Yes.
Commissioner Salmari?
Yes.
Commissioner Walowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammersley?
Hammers is a yes, motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item 10E, I think with the applicant's permission, we'll table this. Are you okay with that? Okay, can we get a motion to table item 10E, please?
Make a motion to table SPR 1877.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion from Commissioner Coles and a second from Commissioner Salmeri down at the end there. I saw you.
Second, yes.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 10F, release of an erosion and sedimentation bond in the amount of $4,800, Apple Valley Worship Center, property located at 594 West Center Street, SPR 1222.1. Mr. Capone, is this ready?
The site plan's expired, so the bond's no longer needed. They would have to come back for another approval, so it's ready for action.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve SPR 1222.1.
Commissioner Britton with a motion, is there a second?
Second.
I'll give that one to Sewell there. He missed out on the last one, so.
We got you, buddy.
But I appreciate the enthusiasm. We have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10G, release of an erosion and sedimentation bond in the amount of $16,000, ESPN satellite facility, property located at Town Line Road. I guess it's the whole road.
Yes. The whole satellite farm.
You know what we mean, so SPR 1435.
The work is completed, Mr. Chairman, ready for action.
Okay, we have a, ready for action here. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to.
Commissioner Guido with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner, huh? Who do we have as a second?
SPR 1435 to approve.
Salmeri with a second, right?
Second.
Yep, okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving back up to item 10C, 1403 Group LLC. Sev, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, I spoke to the applicant, and he feels that the commission will be fair in its deliberations regarding the request for a waiver for the sidewalk based on what we discussed, and you know the area, and so we're going to move forward.
Okay. So you're okay with closing the public hearing on that?
You can close the public hearing if you so desire and move forward under the deliberation to what to
Okay.
do next.
So public hearing, item 9B, 1403 Group LLC, a special permit modification application for the expansion of Superior Products use at 1403 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike into 180 Norton Street. Parcels will be combined and the area will be fenced and screened with arborvitae's, property located at 1403 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, Zone B, SPU 695. Everyone okay with closing the public hearing on that? Is there any objection? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on that. Moving on to item 10C, 1403 Group LLC, special permit modification application for the expansion of Superior Products use at 1403 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike into 180 Norton Street. The parcels will be combined and the area will be fenced in and screened with arborvitae's, property located at 1403 Meriden Waterbury Turnpike, Zone B, SPU 695. As part of this, we have a sidewalk waiver. It's been requested by the applicant. Let's take that up first. Can we get a motion on the sidewalk, request for the sidewalk waiver? Jamie?
Make a motion to not, to deny the sidewalk waiver.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the sidewalk waiver. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it to move the ball forward.
Okay, so we have a motion made and seconded to deny the sidewalk waiver. Jamie, I believe you should state why you want to deny the sidewalk waiver.
I think it's been stated by the town council that we're trying to put more sidewalks in town, and I think it's a safety issue, especially on a busy road, so I think it's a must to have sidewalks at this location.
Okay. Anyone else wish to talk on this before we take a vote on this? Just to clarify, a yay vote is a motion to deny the sidewalk waiver, and how many votes to deny that is required? 2 or 3? What's the number?
Majority to deny, 2/3 to approve. This isn't a motion to approve, so it's just a majority vote. It's denied if it's on his motion.
So if okay.
If you made a motion to approve, it would need 2/3 to be approved. If it didn't approve, it would just still be sitting there. His motion is to deny, not to approve.
It doesn't still require a two-thirds vote on this. Okay. I'm going to turn to you in a second to tell me whether it's approved or what. So, so a vote in the affirmative is a vote to deny the request for a sidewalk waiver. A vote in the negative is to approve the waiver.
Deny the motion.
Is to approve the waiver, the request for the waiver.
No, that's a separate motion.
A no vote is to not deny the request to deny.
So it would be to approve.
No, because the motion wasn't to approve, so
Motion to
if you want to revise it to make a motion to approve the waiver, it makes it much simpler.
Okay, to the motion maker, do we want to revise the motion to a motion to approve?
And then he could he could say he's doing it to get it in front of you, and then he can, during discussion, explain his position.
Okay. Jamie, what's your pleasure?
I think I'll keep it the way it is, and a yay would be no,
A yea would be to deny the,
the sidewalk waiver, correct?
do you understand what Alex is saying, is that a motion to approve makes it easier to figure it out at the end than it is under this current path we're following?
I'll amend to a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
For everybody, I think it's mind-boggling a little bit. Okay.
I have a question.
So we have one second, Joe. We have a motion to approve. To the second, or are you okay with a second on the motion to
I
approve?
appreciate the change in the motion. I think it'll be clearer when we vote. But yes, I would go along with that.
Okay. So the seconder has agreed to that revision of the motion. Back to the maker of the motion, do you want to use this as an opportunity to explain your motion to approve?
May I?
1 second. Huh?
I'll let Caleb go.
Go ahead.
As the seconder.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that this gives us an opportunity to have an up or down vote if we want to approve the waiver for the sidewalk. And I think that using this language as, are we willing to approve this as a yes or no, gives us more clarity in that.
And now would be an excellent opportunity to voice your opinions on the pending motion.
Request for a waiver. Okay. Joe, you had your hand up.
So I wanted to know, this motion or that we're going to vote on, is that an effect on the entire SPU?
There was no dividing of the
Right.
sidewalk waiver, so a motion to deny
So we
or a
deny, we're
motion
denying everything.
to approve would be on the entire, the request was made for the entire lot, yes, for the entire frontage of the site,
And
yes.
so the applicant would have to start all over. Is that correct?
The applicant would have to include, if, right. Go
The
ahead.
sidewalk motion and the SPU motion are separate. The sidewalk motion is
Thank you.
tied to it, but you'll have a separate vote,
Thank you. Thank you.
regardless of what happens on the sidewalk motion.
So is everyone clear? So again, a motion, this is a motion to approve. A yes vote means that you approve giving the applicant the waiver. A no vote means that you do not approve. And a two-thirds vote in the affirmative is required in order for them to receive that waiver. Rob?
Just clarifying question, what is the total frontage with Norton and 322 that would require sidewalks in terms of footage?
I can give you that, give me a second.
I was trying to look at the maps before, and it was kind of hard to.
Any guesstimate on that, Jeremy?
I gotta pull the plan up, hang
I
on
can do
just a
six.
second here.
2,000?
It's a lot.
No, that's the.
It's
feet.
quite a bit. Probably 1,000 feet, if I had to guess.
Close to it.
1,000 feet.
Probably
I
more
got you. Give
than
me
that,
some.
yeah.
Is there any discussion with the DOT that there be some
755 feet.
negotiation with the sidewalk?
So what the applicant provided was an email from DOT saying that the sidewalks were being considered as part of a project that is under consideration.
Right.
So there's no definitive response from DOT that that project will move forward and whether it will include a sidewalk or not.
Well, the maps provided to us.
Sev, you don't know. Okay? Is everyone, Caleb?
To be clear, this is just Meriden Waterbury Road, this is not Norton Street.
No, this is everything.
This is both sides, so
Yeah.
I'm incorrect, that it's more than 755. It's
Over 1,000.
Isn't it 4,000?
It's about,
Two
can't do
2,000?
that.
No, that's on both sides of the property. That's not the property. The property is in the yellow on that
About
map.
1,400.
So about 1,500 square feet
Fair, yeah,
or linear feet,
linear.
right? Engineering, yeah, linear. Okay. Any further discussion on this before we call a roll here?
Is there a way, I'm sorry, I raised my hand
That-
to be noticed.
Caleb, go.
Is there a way to break up the waiver so that we look at Norton Street and not Meriden Waterbury Road?
We've done that in the past.
The waiver request would have had to have been
Specific to that?
correct.
So the answer is no.
So to clarify, we have a motion to deny and a second, correct?
We have a motion to approve in a second.
Okay.
You revised your motion to a motion to approve in a second.
Second question,
Go.
do we have it within our power to enact the new regulation, payment in lieu of, or does that have to be applied for?
You can't require it right now on this application.
Because it came in before
Came
that
in before
regulation
the
change.
change.
Timing is the essence of everything.
Kinda.
Okay,
All right, we ready for a roll on this?
not really.
Go, Jeremy, call a roll.
Okay. Commissioner Coles?
No.
Commissioner Britton?
Same hesitation.
It's not a good one.
Yeah. No.
Commissioner Sewell?
No.
Commissioner Gaida?
No.
Commissioner Salmeri?
No.
Commissioner Wilowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammersley?
Hammersley's a no. Motion to approve fails on a 1-6 vote. Okay, so we discharged that one. Let's move on to the SPU application. Again, it's SPU 695. Do we have a motion on that SPU application?
I make a motion to approve SPU 695 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Britton with a second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, Jeremy, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Coles?
Yes.
Commissioner Britton?
Yes.
Commissioner Sewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Gaida?
Yes.
Commissioner Salmeri?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilowski?
Yes.
Chair Hammersley?
Hammersley's a yes, motion carries 7-0. Congratulations. Moving on to item 11 on our agenda, administrative items. Is there anything, Jeremy, there?
There is nothing to report.
Okay, item 12, any new applications that have come in?
Not at this time.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second.